Let's go through a sample rental job in RigER. We will start our job by creating a rental agreement with a quote. Let's click on the new RSA link and start building our quote. First, let's set the date and choose our client and the location. We can also include the well or sublocation information if needed. Next, let's choose the shop from where we will be deploying our equipment and set the start date for the quote. Let's move on and start adding rental equipment to our quote. Let's select a generator and a light tower, for example. We can adjust the base quantities for each item and also the prices for each day. Moving on to the Services and Parts tab will allow us to add our services and consumables for the quote. We'll do a delivery. We'll also add a pickup and a standalone service, for example, on-site service fee. Let's also add a couple of consumable materials, a lamp, and maybe a fan belt. And save our rental agreement in the system. After saving, we are able to go to the print button and generate a quote for our client. This quote can be printed out. It can also be exported to PDF or Excel, and it can also be sent for digital signature using DocuSign and PandaDoc services. Assuming our potential client approves the quote, we will also need to approve the rental agreement internally. So for that, we can select the status from open to approved. And when we do so, a generate button will appear in the RSA. We click on that and select the option rental ticket. This will allow us to create our first delivery ticket and deploy the equipment to a client location. The information from the RSA or rental agreement will be flown to the rental ticket. We will also need to add the name of the field technician who will be supervising this particular job. So let's select Tom Lewis for this and start choosing the actual unit numbers for the job. So for generator, we can click on the link and choose the asset number. For example, this one. And for the light tower, we will leave this field blank and allow our field technician to walk in the shop and choose the actual light tower that he will be deploying to a client location. Let's move on to the Services and Parts tab and remove whatever we do not need in this case. And fan belt. There is also an additional fee tab, and we can include services and additional fees if those are applicable for this particular ticket. Next will be the crew and the time tabs, which will allow us to log information about the crew members and their spent hours on the job and the total amount of hours spent on this particular ticket. And we also will have the comment fields, which will allow us to set internal and external comments for the ticket. Let's move back to our rental units tab, verify the information, and save the ticket in the database, and move on to the mobile app to see how it looks from the field technician's perspective. After synchronizing the mobile app with the cloud, the field technician will see all the tickets assigned to him. He'll open the one we have just created, review the client, location, and other general information. Then he will need to move to the Rental tab to see the actual rental items assigned by the dispatcher for this ticket. By tapping on the name of the item, he will be able to select the actual asset number from the list of the available assets that he will be deploying to the client location. Next step would be to move to the Services tab to check the required services information. You can also check the Crew tab, add additional crew members if required, and also time tracking information for this particular ticket. After doing everything, all he needs to do is post the ticket in the database, And after posting, the field technician needs to synchronize the information with the cloud for the ticket to become active in the database. After our field technician posts the document in his mobile application and synchronizes it with the cloud, we can go ahead to our related documents section under the RSA to verify whether the changes have been made in the cloud. Let's open the rental ticket and we can see that the actual unit number is already selected. So let's close this document and let's assume we will need also to do another ticket for service provision. So let's again click on the generate button and in this case select a field ticket. The process will be much like the one that we went through while creating our first rental ticket. All applicable information will be pulled from the rental agreement. We will need to set the date for service provision and the field tech who is going to be responsible for this job. Next, move into the Services tab and verifying that we leave just the services that are needed and consumables that are applicable for this job. After we do this, we verify the information, we can post the ticket in the database. By this action, we just logged the service provision information in our rental service agreement, and the charges that are applicable for this ticket and service provision will be also included in this invoice. Now let's assume it is time to return our equipment and invoice our client. For that purpose, we will be generating another rental ticket of type return. So let's go ahead and select the ticket. Set the date of the return and verify that the date for each line item is correct. Also, choose the field technician who is going to be responsible for the return. Now, in the ticket, we can go ahead and select each unit number by themselves, or we can just click on the close location button, which will allow us to gather all the equipment pieces that are at the client location at this point in time. So click on close location, the unit numbers will be filled, and all we need to do after that is just post the ticket in the system. Now let's return to our RSA and generate the rental invoice. So click on generate, select the rental invoice from the selection and set the date for the invoice. Let's do the 18th. Click on generate and the electronic form of our invoice is generated, which will include all the rental and service and applicable other charges that we had during our job's life cycle. We can also click on the print and select the invoice to see what our invoice will look like for the client. This print form obviously can be printed. It also can be emailed, exported to PDF, and also sent through digital signature platforms such as DocuSign and PandaDoc. Now, one thing to mention is that the return ticket is not necessary for us to be able to generate the rental invoice. The invoice can be generated anytime throughout the life cycle of the job. The only thing left to do is to post our invoice in the database to make it active. And that's it, a demonstration of a simple rental job lifecycle in RigER.